Hey, welcome everyone. We are joined today by Zach Blenkinsopp with Digital Roofing. Zach, thank you so much for jumping in with us and doing a quick interview today.
Sure, yeah, and I think I've always thought a lot about CompanyCam, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you and I actually met probably three years ago at when the storm. That is actually when I signed up for CompanyCam the first time. Is when you and I actually met. I don't know if you had the beard then. I can't remember.
I might not. It wasn't quarantine beard for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we actually met quite a bit of time. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the company, CompanyCam in general. So I'm happy to be on an interview with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to jump questions then, because I had this like perfectly laid out plan of questions.
Sure.
I'm going to attack this and then your first comment. I'm going to jump to this one because when Mickey reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, what do you think about interviewing Zach?" She's like, "I don't know," and I'm like, my first instinct was, I know who Zach is. Like, and she was talking about your Instagram and your YouTube and everything, and I'm like, no, I follow him. I know who he is. What tips do you have for contractors, other vendors out in the space to build their, social brand to a point where, hey, I know who Zach is?
Well, I think it's interesting too, because I do have this conversation with people a lot on, what is better, building your own personal brand or building the brand of your company. I feel that, always it's important to look at the end user. Like, who are you trying to attract as a customer? Do people want to, I'll just be frank about it. People really don't give a shit about seeing pictures of your roofing jobs. It's very interesting to us because we're contractors, but the 31-year-old homeowner that's probably needs a new roof here pretty soon, they could really give a shit less about, sorry if I'm cussing, but it's just, they just don't care about seeing the roof itself. I think it's important, particularly with, you have to have a Facebook page because it's good for your SEO purposes. It shows that you're a legit entity. Some people still see, Facebook is, if you have a Facebook page for your business and you have, a few reviews that, that's social proof that you're a legit business and you do good work. But in terms of, especially with Instagram is such an underrated market because no one's really utilizing it very much. But to me, all the younger generation. So how old are you right now?
I'm 34.
So I'm 36. And so you and I, we grew up in a world that there was no Instagram. But now Facebook's not cool. Now, all of my friends and family back in Alabama still use Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok are the cool social media channels. Yeah. No one's like, "Hey, can I get your Facebook?" anymore. No one does that. It's Instagram or TikTok. And so I think it's important as contractors you can still put you're the owner of whatever company on your, I have it on mine that I'm the owner of Digital Roofing Innovations, but I think it's important to sell yourself to people. And you have that opportunity on social media. I've gotten, opportunities from people who've, found me via Instagram, and we got, fortunate enough a couple of years ago to have a viral video, and I've been on the news, and I've had a couple of things that I've been on TV for that I got my account verified, which obviously was my partner was very excited about it, probably more excited about it than I was, just because it shows people people think I'm famous, they think I'm someone, but you don't have to have the check mark to make Instagram work for you or make TikTok work for you, but I think it's important to show people who you are. And I think that then it's cool to see you working on a roofing project when you're up on the roof. It's not cool just to see a picture of it and that be done. I think with social media that you really need to make it about you and the process and what you do for work. And I really think you can grow an audience that way.
For sure. So would you say that there's a healthy mix of that business page and the business posting and that owner of the company and their posting and their following and their brand?
Sure, and it really just depends on what your target audience is. What's your perfect customer? We don't do residential anymore, so I'm very careful about what I post on my social media because I do a lot of federal government work, and so I do promotions and stuff like that for side money on Instagram, but I don't, I won't put anything unsavory on there because, well, I don't want me to be considered for a big project and all of a sudden someone sees, I don't know, even if it's just me, like, with a girl and we're, having fun somewhere, they might, oh, this guy's kind of a party animal. I don't know if I want him necessarily to be doing my project. So I do agree. Yes, there needs to be some professionalism in terms of, particularly if you're doing residential, but particularly if you are doing residential, that is the market where you really can use social media a lot to your advantage on being able to show people just who you are as a person, and not only just you, the people who work with you, your subcontractors, if you have an office staff. To me, it humanizes our social media even more. So I definitely think if people are doing a lot of residential work, I mean, and it's free to put this stuff on Instagram and TikTok for that matter. It's free to post this stuff and you can get a lot of organic traffic.
For sure. So let's back up then real quick, because you talked about how you do all commercial work now. When you started, like, how did you get into the roofing space? And I followed you long enough to know that you've done residential. So how did you get into the roofing space in the first place?
Well, so I read the 4 Hour Work Week 4 years ago, a little bit over 4 years ago. And I took a trip to Colombia, and where I'm at now. And I took a trip to Costa Rica. So I did a week in Colombia, a week in Costa Rica. And I posted on Facebook that I was taking this trip, and my, part of the reason I did it though is I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and I was like, I really want to see if I can apply these principles in this book to my life and see if this is a type of lifestyle that I would like to live. And without getting too deep into the book, a lot of the book is about being able to go ahead and live like you're retired well before you're 65 years old. And long story short, I took the trip, quit my job. My business partner had reached out to me because he had read the book a year prior. He was already on the path of trying to live remotely. And so that's how we got hooked up. And I was like, hey, I got this idea, because I was quitting my job and I used to sell digital marketing for the largest digital marketing company in the United States. So I had a suit and tie job, and I used to look at these profit margins that some of these roofers would make, and I'm like, like the profit margins are the same for you as they are for plumbers and electricians, and you need a lot more licensing to be a plumber or electrician or a HVAC contractor, but the profit margins are the same in roofing. But like I was in Texas at the time, and Texas didn't require a license. So my original idea was to sell, not necessarily just sell leads, but help sell leads and like coach on how to do sales and start helping contractors make more money. And then, so we tried that model for a little bit. It didn't work. So we pivoted. I actually partnered with a contractor, and I was like, I will build a sales team. And then you just basically I hired him almost like a production manager, but I was going to give him a much larger part of the profit. And that relationship just didn't end up working out. And so we were almost a year into the business. I wasn't living remotely. I wasn't making any money. And so the two big goals that I wanted to do just were not working. So I decided, I called my business partner one day and I said, Chris, it's like, I know like you and I are both trying to live remotely. I said, but I've got an idea to how to change this. And he's like, well, how do you want to do it? And I was like, what if I just, got my license and became an actual contractor myself? And so we did. We started doing we were doing residential at the time. We continued to do residential, and then I read the book called Good to Great by damn it, I can't think of his name. But I read Good to Great, and there's a part of that book that talks about the hedgehog theory and what you can be the best in the world at. And I did not like doing residential roofing at all. But we enjoyed doing like apartment complexes and some of the commercial jobs that we had done. We really enjoyed doing those. And I told him, I said, let's just cut out residential altogether. You don't like doing it. I don't like doing it. We make more money doing these larger projects. So the only way we can, we're going to continue to do these is we have to cut out residential altogether so we can focus on all of our attention on just doing this. And of course that delays the process of you getting paid. Mm-hmm. And I was just fortunate enough to be, a little bit smarter with my money than other people. And him and I just, took another year without paying ourselves so we could start chasing these larger projects.
Absolutely. So
that's kind of how we ended up where we're at now.
You bet. So I think you kind of glossed over a piece of the puzzle there that I want to kind of dive into.
Sure.
And that's the video, because you mentioned it. And I don't know it verbatim, but basically it was somehow I get a roof, I get a gun, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I've followed you for a long time. We've known each other.
Sure.
Like, the one thing I believe strongly in is fortune follows hard workers. And
sure, yeah.
You've just told me a bunch of things. Hey, we tried this, we pivoted, we did this, we did this. Sure. Like, some people may look at that gun promo and be like, man, he got so lucky. Like, he got himself on the map with that. And at the end of the day, there was some fortune involved with it. Like, I guarantee you didn't say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to go viral. But it was one of many things you've tried.
Sure.
If you were to give some advice to these other contractors out there, like, I don't know that the gun promo is going to work again and go viral because it's been done, but how important is it to stay nimble in your business and, continue to try things until you find that one thing that's really your niche, and then.
Well, I think it's a great question. And one of the things I feel like that keeps most people from taking risk is they don't have the financial security to be able to do so. I was fortunate to be in the military. I receive, it's not a lot, but I do get a disability check from the military, which is helpful because, I don't have any debt. My house is paid off. My car's paid. I drive an old, like, 2003 Toyota Highlander. That's my everyday car. If there's like a big job I'm gonna go do, I just go rent a car for a month, rent a truck for a month. It's a hell of a lot cheaper for me to rent a truck for a month than it is for me to pay one for the full year. So one thing my partner and I both do is we cut our expenses down to the bare minimum, and it allows us to take greater risk. Most people, when they start and the reason that most people go out of business in roofing is because that first really good year, and then year two comes and they want to expand too quickly. And what happens is overhead is not fixed, unfortunately. So as their overhead increases, their cash flow goes down, and then next thing you know, they're bankrupt. And I'm fortunate to have an education in business, and so does my partner. So we, try to apply, fundamentals of business and cash flow to make sure that we, have enough to be able to take some of the risks that we have. With that said, I feel like too many people worry too much about what other people think. Like, for instance, we knew when we did the Get a Roof, Get a Gun commercial that we were going to piss off a large segment of people. But we live in North Alabama, is where our target market was at the time. So even if on a low number, even if 70% liked it, those 70% probably really were going to like it, and 30% probably really was not going to like it. Man, 70% of the market's still a lot. Mm-hmm. And I feel like too many business owners they want to get all the customers instead of just focusing on who their real target market is and who their real target audience is. And you're right. I got lucky with the video, but it was, I will say it was calculated luck. I knew that gun at the time, this was, 3.5 years ago, gun violence and gun safety and, taking away guns, that was the hot button topic. That was the COVID-19, of the time. There's nothing wrong with that approach. A lot of people's done it, but I feel like if you're a new company and you have a limited budget, take some risk, man. Like, as long as I use the analogy, it's okay to fall and scrape your knee some. You just don't want to get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. One, like you threw those percentages out, and obviously those, it could have been 80-20, it could have been 90-10. Who knows what it actually ended up being? But it was 100% of, like, maybe not 100. Let's say 98% of the people in your area knew the roofing company that gave guns away.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense. And so now when I need a roofing contractor, you had to, like, really, really, really offend me after that first or second try when I make a phone call and it's like, oh, they didn't answer, or they can't be out. Like, well, I mean, I remember that guy that did the guns. I know that recently in 2020, you set 2 world records. Like always just doing things that stay top of mind, like that keep your company relevant. And I think that's so important, because I'm a huge believer. I'm not a contractor at all.
Sure,
but I own a home, and I'm a huge believer in one of 2 things. If I need something done at my house, I either know you from somewhere, usually great marketing, community involvement, those kind of things.
Sure.
Or you're at the top of my Google search when I go and look. Like those are my 2 options generally. And I think so often, like you said, these contractors kind of get stuck in the way everyone else is doing it. And they're like, well, man, if there's a storm, I just got to go knock the neighborhood before the other guys do.
Yeah.
How important is it in your mind to kind of, I mean, nothing against door knocking. Like there's value in door knocking, but the bigger that brand, that customer experience, how obviously it's important. How neglected is it in the contracting world, do you think?
Well, to me, it's important. It's important to own a company that you enjoy to do. Like my first 2 years in business, I did not enjoy. Like most people don't enjoy their first 2 year business because it sucks. I mean, it's not fun for most people. But I really didn't like it because it was. There we go. It wasn't the type of company that I wanted to run. And so I was out knocking doors. I was out doing anything, just like everybody else. And part of it is I knew one day, like I wanted to start my own YouTube channel of basically how to do all this stuff. So some of the things like knocking doors I did just partly because I wanted to get the experience of doing it. But I didn't enjoy running my company. Just because to me, it wasn't the type of business now I love what I do for a living. I love the way that we have our company structured and stuff like that. So I really think it's like when it comes to how you run your company and how you market, how you advertise has to fit into a lifestyle that you are going to be happy with. Because I'm a believer that, this is our only go around on this planet. So you might as well enjoy it. And I'm sure as hell not going to spend 20 years, working and doing things for everyone else and not enjoying my own life. So to your point about the knocking doors and community involvement, I see people knock doors and typically in business, and you know this, if you see, and it's not just business, in the world in general, if you see everybody else doing something, you should probably do something different, because it's easy to go knock doors. I mean, it's obviously hard to go knock, hey, I'm Zach with Digital Roofing Innovations, there was a hailstorm. Like, yes, that can be difficult, but it's easy just hop in a truck and do it. But going and doing the community involvement, going to meet insurance agents, going to have meetings with real estate agents, getting to know people within the Chamber of Commerce, building relationships with the city manager, the building department, trying to set up a meeting with the mayor just to see, who you are. Though, to me, those play, particularly if you're wanting to build a market where you live at, and where your market around where you're wanting to work, those play. You have to look at it as a marathon and not as a sprint. To me, it's also like it's like teaching a man to fish versus just giving him a fish. You can, like, when you teach your salespeople just to go knock doors, all you're doing is giving them a fish, because it's a one-time deal and that customer's not going to need a roof for 20 years. They might tell their neighbor, they might not. They might tell their cousin. You may have referral programs, and I'm not saying they don't work, because some of them do, but I think you building the long-term investment into your community, exactly what you're talking about, leaving that part of it neglected, versus spending all your time knocking doors is just a huge missed opportunity for a lot of contractors.
I completely agree. I love that analogy of the teaching them to fish, because to me, like, even if you are door knocking, like you said, that is giving them a fish. And the problem is it's who are you the first to the neighborhood? Like, you still have to be the first to the neighborhood to have the upper hand. But you talked about those referrals and like networking and those things. Like, okay, you caught a fish. Like, fortunate thing is this fish actually can talk to you, and you can have a conversation with them, and you can figure out who else they know. Like, and there's so we could go on for hours on, how do you position that conversation so it's not, hey Zach, who do you know that would need a roof? But that storm was crazy. Like, this roof is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, well, man, my parents live not too far from here. How bad it was? Oh, it was bad there. Yeah, I can go look at the roof. Nope. And just building that.
Well, I'll tell you, when we got out of the residential game, we didn't door knock for well over a year. And that's because we built relationships with insurance agents. We built relationships with real estate agents. We were showing up on page one on SEO, both in the map pack and or organic, just our organic listing. Our Facebook, obviously had a lot of success. But we didn't, we got calls. I still get residential calls all the time. Well, they don't really go anywhere now, but we still receive calls from people I still get Facebook messages from people and text messages from time to time. People want residential, and we just don't do it. But that was just but I think if I wanted to own that type of company by now, I could have a massive sales staff and dominate my local market. I just, that was at the time, and who knows, 10 years from now, I may get tired of traveling and, dating beautiful foreign women and, playing golf around the world and things like that I enjoy doing. And maybe I move back somewhere in the US and do that. Right now, my lifestyle is when I do work, I want to make the maximum amount of money humanly possible in the shortest amount of time so I can spend the rest of my time, and the reason I was able to, break some world records and, do some, some big things in my life last year was I had the time to do it. And for me, I think that's important that's the whole point of the lifestyle that I want to live. If I'm going to have free time, I'm going to spend my free time, doing cool stuff. I don't want to just, sleep till noon every day and, not do anything exciting with my life. The whole point of the lifestyle is to do great things that you enjoy to do. And not everybody has to go travel and do the things I do. Maybe that's more time with your family. That's finally taking your kids on that camping trip. You going to taking the family to go live a summer in Spain or whatever it is that you want to do. That's the kind of lifestyle that I sell.
So that kind of leads me to a question I wanted to ask, and we've brushed on pain points that face contractors. You've mentioned things about that. I think one of the biggest one is knowing your numbers. That's just such an important thing that I think gets neglected. And you say, what's knowing your cash flow, knowing your numbers, those kind of things are so important. I want to go because I'm a big, Simon Sinek. I love Simon Sinek stuff, the golden circle, to start with start with the why and then work your way backwards. You hit on it there. How important is it for these contractors to say, what do I want my company to look like? What do I want my life to be like? Why do I want to do this? And work backwards to getting, okay, how do I achieve that? As opposed to saying, I want to make a ton of money. I want to grow as fast as we can. In your eyes, because you've kind of, rode the rocky road for a little bit. And then once you finally figured out this is what we want our path to be, now it's clear sailing. How important is that for contractors to start with the, hey, what do we want? And then now how do we get there?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Again, the problem that I always go back to with most people is overhead, both with their life. I have a really great friend. I'm going to keep his name private in this. He was the first contractor I worked for when I was getting ready to start my company. I wanted to go work for a roofing contractor that was really good. And I was very transparent. I was like, look, I'm gonna sell a lot for you. I said, but I want to learn how you run your company. He's a great contractor. I mean, he's a smart guy, good person, great family man. But I watched him struggle several times because he had a problem with spending. You would make all this money, but he lived out of his account. He had a big house, new car, and that's just not him. That's most people. The problem is exactly what you're saying. Most people want to make the money, but what they fail to realize is once you start making the money and then you start spending it, you're adding a huge burden, particularly if you finance things, a huge burden on your company. And then instead of you being able to run your sales staff or whatever, now you're spending time going out knocking doors yourself because you're like, well, shit, I need to, I've got a $2,000 mortgage coming up this month and I need to sell some of these myself instead of building my team. And so to me, what ends up happening is everybody thinks that they want to make a lot of money. I would argue the fact that most people want to make a reasonable amount of money and have more time with their family doing things they want to do. The problem is a lot of people lose their hobbies and lose their fire to go do things, whether go to the gym or take their wife out to dinner, because they get burned out working, and then it just becomes about making money all the time. And the problem is, again, is most people, when they start making more money, they spend more. And that's great when you're doing, your first year you do $1 million, your next year you do 1.5, and you continue to grow, and then boom, you hit that plateau. And then sometimes you never know when, a 2020 is going to hit, and your company goes from doing 3.5 million a year to doing 1.5, and all of a sudden you're bankrupt. And I think that's a huge problem. Most people start particularly in what we do, they start their own business because they work for a crappy contractor and they want to make more money of their own, but they don't know why they want to own their company. They just want to own one. And without having a goal in mind of why you want to run your own company and the type of lifestyle that you want to have, to me, I feel very blessed that I've been able to meet people that pointed me to books that I've read that shaped my perspective of what I want in life. And also, some of the people I've met, experience I've had, that I feel very fortunate that early in my 30s, I knew exactly what I wanted my lifestyle to look like. And now I have it. Of course, I'd like to make more money, but that's most all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's perfect, because the question I always like to end with interviews like this is, you're in your early 30s, your business is in great position. I'm
now 36, but yeah.
Okay, mid 30s. We'll call it mid 30s. Yeah, I mean, setting world records, viral videos. Things are going really well.
Sure.
If you could have done something different, it's kind of that like piece of advice because of the path that you took for contractors. If there was something you could go back and say, hey, if I would have just done this differently 4 years ago, I would even be in a better position today than I am.
No, that's a great question. I mean, hell, I could write a whole book of all the stupid shit I've done in the past that both in business and my personal life that I've done. I know it sounds cheesy, but reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad would be, I wish someone would have grabbed me at 18 years old and said, you're not allowed to graduate high school unless you read this book. I think reading that book builds a foundation of realizing that your career is not a sprint, that it's a marathon, and that you have to learn to forget about how everybody else perceives you. And if you can only afford a 2-bedroom house with another roommate and drive a crappy, Honda Accord, and you have to strap a ladder to it, or you have to save it by a telescopic ladder to get started, do that. And I think the hardest part for most humans is if you and I buy a new car, majority of the time, it's not going to be because we actually want that car. It's the projected image that other people have of that possession, whether it be, look, man, my last full-time job before I started my company, I bought a Porsche, and I didn't buy it for me. I bought it because I knew all the girls I was going to pick up with it. So I feel like it's a very difficult for guys and girls, for that matter, to not have possessions that show our success. If you want to hear the one thing I would tell someone young is the whole mindset of, I've been working hard, I deserve this. You don't deserve anything. Life does not give you anything. So the delayed gratification for your hard work is the number one hardest thing that most people ever have to do in business.
I love it. Well, Zach, appreciate you taking the time out of your day. You're in Colombia, right?
Yeah. Literally, I got 25 minutes to pack up my backpack real quick. I'm going on a quick 6-day golf trip to Bogota for the kind of long weekend, I guess you can call it.
Yeah. Well, if I have any advice for that, growing up in Nebraska, swing easy if it's breezy. And I've seen some of your videos. I don't know if swing easy is in your vocabulary, but
I'm swinging easier these days. I have one telescopic golf club that I travel. I don't bring my whole bag. I got this one. It's really cool, man. It's called a Dibnik telescopic golf club. So it telescopes out, and then you can change the head of it to the degree. So I travel with just one golf club. So I play the entire round with one club. So I got a good video coming out though. I just finished editing it. It's I hiked up to the volcano and hit the ball off of it. So I finally finished the YouTube video on it. So I'll be posting that probably tonight or tomorrow. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the golf trip. And
yeah, man.
I think we should probably have you on for another interview here at a later date.
Yeah, I'd love to, Michael. Hey, thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it. And again, I really enjoy CompanyCam and the just the business model itself. And I've met several guys from y'all's company, and I've always just been really impressed with the character of people that you guys have over there. So again, thanks a lot for having me, and we'll hopefully do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, Zach.